In this segment, we're going to focus on, again, it's early in the year, and we're going to focus on talent. And certainly there's a change in the minimum wage here across the state of Michigan. And we're going to talk about that with our good friend, Mr. Blaine Shultz, who's the president of staffing of Access Point's Staffing and Recruiting Division, and is responsible for the day-to-day leadership, strategic planning, and team development of staffing, direct hire, and healthcare IT teams. And he really is, we were just chit-chatting during the break about one commonality very quickly is that his daughter just completed a PA program, a physician's assistant program at the University of Detroit Mercy, and my daughter happens to be there as well. So, Blaine,
Indeed.
Good morning. Thanks for joining me.
Well, thank you for having me.
My pleasure. So before we kind of unpack the minimum wage and things like that, which could impact certainly small business for this upcoming 2018, tell us about Access Point. Who are you? What's the organization? What do you do?
Well, Access Point, it sounds cliche, but it's a people business. It's all about people. Our services cover the entire life cycle of a person's working life, from first job on the recruiting and staffing side, changing jobs on the direct hire and executive recruiting side, to managing HR for other small businesses, all the way up through having people retire and taking advantage of the retirement programs that we provide.
How many years?
1986,
Ooh.
My company was founded. Access Point acquired my company 4 years ago. So combined, we have about 31 years.
So that always begs the question, 31 years, even through acquisition. What's been your key for success in terms of business sustainability, you think?
Yeah, I think being willing to change with the times and really having a passion for what you do. Going back to an earlier guest, the senior leadership team that we have, everybody views what they do truly as a calling. It's helping people change their lives, either by getting their first job, getting a new opportunity, or working to the end of their career.
And so it's not just about doing a job anymore, right?
No.
I mean,
No.
And I think Priscilla, to your point, made some excellent comments about finding your calling and getting that passion. And if you discover that, it can help you unleash your potential.
Absolutely.
And take you to another level. And you're in the people business. That's what you're looking for, of course.
Exactly.
Outstanding. What types of services do you offer specifically at Access Point?
So Access Point has a variety of divisions. We have a human resource outsourcing division that manages the HR function for other small and medium-sized businesses. And we like to talk about the fact that, of course, we do all the transactional things like payroll and workers' compensation and benefits management. But really, it's the access to our team of professionals on that incremental basis. You buy what you need that gives small business owners the ability to work in their business and actually adds value and helps them transform their business.
Because we know that entrepreneurs have a tendency of working too much in the business, and I don't say that disrespectfully, but sometimes we have to learn to pull back and see the bigger picture. So you're offering a resource or support vehicle or tool that will help those people pull the lens back to see the longer term vision for the company.
And then on the staffing side of the business, we have offices throughout the state of Michigan, as far north as Traverse City, as far west as Grand Rapids, down here in southeast Michigan, Jackson, Kalamazoo, Ann Arbor, Grand Rapids, Lansing. And we provide traditional staffing services with a twist. One of our bread and butter items is large-scale on-site project management, where we are the front-end recruiter. We're the farm team for larger employers, allowing them to pull from our pool of folks when they have growth or attrition, and really embedding ourselves into their organization and providing a long-term value-add partnership.
We're talking to Blaine Shultz this morning. He's the president of staffing over at Access Point, and was kind enough to come in from the Lansing area on this cold day. You're staying nice and warm, right?
Absolutely.
That nice hot cup of coffee keep you warm?
Yes.
Good. I hope so. I get here extra early to fix that, But anyway, let's segue as we just entered into a new year, and there's a lot of discussion about minimum wage.
Yes.
And I'm going to have you kind of take over the conversation, talk about some of the changes that are currently taking place with the minimum wage across the state of Michigan and how that could impact a business on a go-forward basis as we think about 2018 and beyond. So let me turn over to you and talk about what's happening with minimum wage here in the state of Michigan.
Sure. So January 1st, 2018, Michigan's minimum wage went to $9.25 an hour. We've had a 5-year track where we went from $7.40 to now $9.25. It's interesting. Michigan's actually high for the Midwest. If you look at some of the surrounding states, Illinois is 8.25, Wisconsin and Indiana are at the federal rate of 7.25. So we're high for the Midwest. We're low compared to California and New York. California is on a 4-year plan to go from $11 to $15 an hour. New York is on a 10-year plan to go to $15 an hour. Of course, that's the cost of living in New York, and California is quite a bit higher. That accounts for a lot of that difference. But Michigan now is 9.25, and that does raise the bar. There's a ripple effect for when the minimum wage goes up. Folks that are close to minimum wage, they're going to see increasing pressure and increasing competition from other employers. And it's funny, economists debate this endlessly about whether or not having a minimum wage or raising the minimum wage or comparing minimum wage to a living wage is a good thing. I have two good friends that both have PhDs in economics from Michigan State University, and they're on opposite ends of the spectrum. I have a degree in accounting from Michigan State, so my background is in accounting and as a bean counter. The one thing that I can tell you for sure is when the cost at minimum wage goes up, businesses have to pay more for their talent, and they have to react. And there's a variety of ways that they do react, can react, and we can talk about that a little bit more.
And we will. And so the question I have is $9.25. I just don't know. Does that, for the average person making $9.25 an hour, is that above poverty level? Is that still below poverty level? How does that compare to what the poverty level is?
Comparing on a regional basis, it's above the poverty level for the Midwest region for a single person. But as anybody that is out in the working world knows, it's pretty tough to make ends meet on $9.25 an hour. It's a starting wage, not a living wage.
So this is not a political show. This is a business show. We know, though, before the end of 2017, there was a tax bill that was passed in Washington, D.C. What impact, there's been talk about certainly the corporate taxes and things like that being reduced. Will that have on the minimum wage structure? Any thoughts? And if you're a small business owner, again, I'm not an accountant. I don't understand all the tax laws, but and I haven't had a chance to study the tax bill, but under the new tax bill, excuse me, will there be some type of relief? Do you know for small businesses? So my question is really twofold. What impact will the corporate tax cuts in the corporate space have on this minimum wage, or will allow them to account for the increases in minimum wage? And what will be the overall impact for small businesses?
Well, certainly the tax bill providing relief to both pass-through entities and C-corps by lowering the overall corporate rate is going to draw overseas investment back into the U.S. And is going to lessen the burden on corporations. So it gives them more freedom of movement, certainly, to be able to one of the options on the table is always you can eat the cost of an increase. Right. It certainly provides a measure of flexibility to have that be a better option on the table.
Okay. And so there's an opportunity to possibly eat that cost. Obviously, some corporations are giving, $1,000 bonuses to their employees. Yes. And so certainly it's up to the individual business in terms of how they might use that increase, if you will, in profitability or revenue as a result of the corporate tax cuts. And from a small business standpoint, there's some other challenges. So the question I have is, if I'm a small business and I'm listening and you're telling me my minimum wage is going to go to $9.25 as of January 1st of this year. Correct. So how can I adjust my bottom line to make up for those increased wages?
Well, we've seen businesses react in a variety of ways. You can cut staff by becoming more efficient. You can adjust your scheduling and, have more part-time so that your benefits costs get reduced. A lot of businesses that have the ability to automate are looking seriously at automation. I was reminded in preparing for this morning when I was in Pennsylvania in 2009 was the first time I ever saw kiosks at a restaurant. Yeah. It was a sub shop, and they were just putting them in. We went in one time, and there were 3 people at the register at lunchtime, and we went in the next time, and there were 4 kiosks and 1 person at the end of the register. So automation, where possible, is certainly a venue that businesses look at, and that has on the front end a negative effect on jobs. They're cutting jobs, but somebody had to make those machines as well.
Yeah,
so it's the dynamic aspect of our economy.
So it's kind of like it's kind of 6.5 of one and 1/2 of the other, whatever it's called, And I mean, you're right. Somebody has to manufacture those machines or make them, produce them. But on the flip side, that the person that was staffing that, in theory, was let go or
Correct.
reallocated to do something else inside that organization. I experienced that not myself personally. There was I will only say. Where I teach, something similar. There was a cafe that was launched, and up until this previous academic year, there were 3 or 4 people staffing it. So I go in the fall semester and to grab some lunch. It was all kiosks, all automatic transactions now. I was like, okay. So my first thought was, what happened to the students? Because those were students.
Correct, yeah.
You're certainly working there. But those are business decisions that organizations will make that's best for them on a go-forward basis. Interesting. Any other discussions about even raising the minimum wage even higher over the next several years in our closing couple of minutes?
Well, there's always talk at the national level. Certainly, there have been discussions about trying to institute a national path to $15 an hour. I think again, it's not a political show, but the regional difference, the fact that you see a higher wage in New York and California than Michigan or Indiana or Ohio, accounts for those regional differences. It's pretty tough to account for the regional differences on a national basis. I'm sure that there will continue to be discussions and pressure on raising the minimum wage. I think from a business perspective, in terms of recruiting talent, I think that's the wrong approach. And in fact, when we look across the spectrum of our clients, we have a few clients that are still at minimum wage for unskilled labor, but most of them are already above minimum wage.
Well, the good news, too, in our closing moments together is that increase in the wage will hopefully help to retain people in the state of Michigan, right? Paying them a little bit more money and in theory, paying them more money as opposed to having them go elsewhere to leave and trying to find a job. Is that a fair assessment?
There's a potential positive impact in that regard, yes.
Okay. Well, how can people get more information? Give us the information for Access Point. Where they can get more information from you?
You can go to our website at www.apteam.com. And that website covers all of our divisions and actually has bios on our staff and pretty good descriptions of our services.
Wow, Blaine, thank you. This is enlightening. As soon as I heard about this, I wanted to have you on and have this conversation because it's going to impact small businesses and business, small, medium, and large as well. So thank you very much for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
Have a great Sunday.
You too.
And a Happy New Year again.